2020 was an interesting year for all of us. And one of the biggest values of ABSL as association is to have a pleasure and opportunity and honor to work with many great leaders in our industry. Today's panel will be focused on them as leaders, about their challenges, about the business adoption and the business changes, but also about the opportunities, about what we can do differently in the current situation in the future to convert the situation we had in 2020 to the success in 2021. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce my fantastic panelists, starting with the ladies. Gabriela Stanakova from Kimberly-Clark. Good morning, Gabriela.
Hi, everybody.
Katarzyna Zawodna-Bijach from Skanska. Good morning, Kasia.
Good morning, everybody.
And gentlemen, Jakub Vanek, welcome to the call. Jakub, you're from Genpact.
Exactly. Good morning.
Scott Newman, the colleague, and many of us are from Kraków, but Scott is also from Kraków, representing State Street. Good morning, Scott.
Dzień dobry.
And Paweł Opatka, last but not least, from SoftServe.
Hello, everyone.
It was mentioned before, this diversity of different leaders, different nationalities in this forum, because we have people from Poland, I think from England, from Slovakia, but also diversity of different businesses, and each of the sectors went through the 2020 a bit different way. So if you'd like to maybe share your perspectives on the first question I have prepared for you. What learnings have you had through COVID, and as a result, have you changed, adapt any strategic plans? And would like to really listen to you and understand better, have you found any business opportunities during 2020 crisis?
So maybe I'll kick that off at Scott. I guess probably the most important first learning is it's absolutely okay to sit at home wearing a shirt and jacket with your shorts and socks, and that feels great. And that's clearly a positive learning from the experience. But on a more serious note, I think one of the key learnings, particularly in our business of financial services, where we are not manufacturing products, we're a people business, a key learning has been people need people. And whilst there have been some learnings around opportunities on the business side, which I'll talk to, I think, the important thing has been do not lose sight of the importance of that social contact. And, I'm sure like many of you, when you have run your surveys, one of the biggest challenges identified has been that people have lost that social contact, and that is really difficult for them as we continue to work in this remote environment. Other learnings on the positive side, though, I think we've clearly learned we can do a lot more than what we thought we can. And, whether that is around transformation plans and evolving your company culture from previous times of, well, we can't do that because we've always done it this way, to changing the approach to, well, actually, yes, we can do more. Who would have thought we could have moved from everybody working in the office to everybody working at home in just a few days and a few weeks? And I think that turned the light bulb on for many people who have seen actually we can do a lot more than we thought. The learning is it's accelerated transformation. And one thing I'm sure we'll discuss is transformation in real estate strategy, where I think many of us would say now that we are likely to require less real estate and office space going forward. And where we do require it, probably the setup of it will be quite different, in that more of our operational routine activities will be performed from home. And when we are in the office, it's the collaboration, it's for the innovation, it's for the brainstorming. And again, that social contact of getting everybody together. One that I particularly love in terms of a learning, and my HR colleagues have been a little fed up with me over the years, challenging them on everything from why do we need paper and wet signatures and all the rest of it, to suddenly, you know what, that's not an option anymore. We have to do it online. We have to do it with electronic signatures. And yes, if we have to follow up, obviously, to meet regulatory requirements offline later, we can. But again, light bulb moment, we can do things differently, and we can challenge ourselves to what we really need to do. And I think lastly, from my perspective, less siloed behaviors. For those of us that work in large global multinationals, the approach has often been that you're in your business line, you think about your business line and your product instead of thinking of the greater good for the organization. And the experience this year, I have really seen that shine through. More collaboration, more people thinking of the greater good of the company and the individuals. And it's been a much, much easier process to say, we're experiencing huge volatility in financial markets, and we need to shift resources around from certain products and services to others to accommodate our client needs. And that has worked as people have come together. On the business side, to wrap up, our clients generally tend to be large asset managers. And imagine you're an asset manager. You're trying to sit at home in your kitchen. You're executing a trade for multiple $1 million. Your children are jumping on the table in front of you and you're trying to eat your breakfast. Not the ideal environment as a portfolio manager. And so many of our clients are coming to us increasingly and saying, well, we really need to focus on our core competency of managing investment funds. So can we delegate more of the administration to a company like State Street? And that we've seen as an opportunity. Thanks, Sebastian. Back to you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the group? I know you have a lot of great examples to share.
So I think, please, Gabriela, please.
We are already starting where this virtual environment, adapting to the conversation. So, I wanted to share with everybody that Kimberly-Clark was probably not so much hit in terms of the business environment because, as you know, everybody, we produce some of the essential products that people use much more of. And but anyway, we started to look at our business a little bit differently because we have one part which is a consumer focus and another part which is professional focus, and they both have very different paths during this year. But what I think, to add on what Scott was saying is that less paper, and I would even add more digital, and we could hear that from the previous speaker, right? Think about digital because digital is the key. And I think, that's what we are now focusing much more and preparing ourselves for the digital transformation that should come. And with this environment, you feel the need to do it much faster than before. So I think, I completely agree with what Scott was saying about people and the silos and so on. We actually, because we had to protect our cash and our business as well, we started to cooperate much closer with our customers, and also because our sales organization were all of a sudden from one day to another staying home, we could talk much more. So we created like a very different connection that before that it wasn't so strong, right? So we all drive in the same direction together, and the cooperation is like fantastic. So on one side it is a silo, on the other side you are creating very unique connection with the business as well.
I maybe just add one more learning that we have is flexibility of the organizations. Like we all learned that things that were impossible to achieve for years in our organization suddenly within one actually night, yes, became available for everyone. And turns out that our organizations are more flexible than we ever thought they will be, yes? And not only our organizations, but also our customers. So in the past, it was impossible, for example, to tell customers that will work remotely with whole teams, yes? And as one of the biggest technology providers, we had many customers, but now it turns out that everyone works remotely, even customers, and they are okay to work in this kind of environment. Yes, so I think flexibility is the biggest learning for everyone here.
Kasia, any perspective from your side?
Yeah, I think I can only repeat what has been said already, that it proved that we can handle much more and we can do it in a fantastic way. I was absolutely amazed that overnight, basically without any disruptions to the business, we changed our way of working. And it turns out that it's possible, and having all the kids at home and with remote schooling and stuff like that, it was tough, but it also proved us that we just love being together, and like we are missing our space where we can meet, collaborate, and think creatively, inspire ourselves. That's like our learning. We can be extremely productive, very focused, working remotely, and we are also extremely missing the place where we can meet. And I think it's like super important that the office nowadays for us become like the place we really want to go. It's like the reward. Yes, finally it's my shift. I can go there. I can interact with my colleagues. So that was a big finding, and I was also extremely impressed with, because we have sites, ongoing construction sites. So it's not possible for everybody in the organization to work remotely. And we've managed to implement the safety measures, like, again, almost overnight. So none of our sites, which there is like multiple of those, were closed. So we had no like spread of infections that were pushing us to delay any of those. So that was also amazing, like seeing how people can organize themselves and like implement all the safety measures, like office rules, and that they are really, really determined to follow those. And it was amazing to observe.
Sebastian, probably last point from my side to somehow close the loop is the opportunity on the looking at the talent perspective. Because right now everybody is remote, which means you can really source the talent based on demand, not based on the location. In the end, we can completely move away from, I need to have a team in Krakow, in Warsaw, in whatever, Wrocław. Especially in the era of experience being so important, why should I have Polish person speaking German? I can have a German person speaking German hired out of Germany, right, in completely remote environment. And then this is opening completely different element of opportunities for the consulting, for the business, and this initial conversations. But I think that the whole taxation and all the public government looking at the topic will adapt and help us move forward that direction.
Yes, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of opportunities for our industry. I think from the business perspective, I also have heard about a few businesses really they converted completely the operating model because they probably will not survive without the converting. And I think companies working in the transportation sector in Warsaw, they move from being the kind of Uber provider to being to support the delivery of the different packages for people. Within like 1 week, they changed the model. So there's always opportunity in the system, and I think now I'm doing quite well. But I will give you some story, and I will move to the next question. I remember one of the conversations I had with our CEO, and he's quite, I would say, in the context of work from anywhere or remote work, he's quite old-fashioned. He didn't believe in this model at all. And I remember he said, at some point, he said, I think I believe. And the moment when he really changed his mind was the moment when he was driving the update to the street after the Q2 of the year from his kitchen. And he said, you know what? It does work perfectly fine. I could communicate to them. I don't know if they're wearing pants or not, yes, but I delivered my message and was well accepted. I think I did everything. My team was remote. We didn't have any problems. Of course, with the comment from Katarzyna, I was in the office yesterday, and I met many people yesterday because we had some pre-work for the town hall, and we felt like the kids in the candy shop. When you meet people in the 3D, not 2D like on the screen, it's a very different experience. I strongly believe there will be some push from us to maybe meet in some old-fashioned basis. But the question is, how did you adapt to the remote work environment, both customer, which is might be very different from your employee perspective? So can you give us any examples? I think there was a few already mentioned, like also as opportunities, but what you have done to be different and be more successful as a company, as organizations?
So maybe I will start with this one. So I think many things that I will mention are valid for every company, but we adapt quickly technology, yes? And even though we are working remotely or virtually with many customers from around the globe, Like what we actually invested heavily and push even further is like communication through different channels and communicators like Zoom, Teams, and many others that actually are customer users. Yes, we also moved our meetings with customers to like virtual boards, for example, as Miro, yes, where we actually in interactive way we can collaborate all together and actually work on the same aspects here, yes. But also to adapt to this new environment, we introduce a lot of things that help us to do like virtual onboarding or e-signatures that were mentioned here already, that brought us a step further towards better solution to the situation we are actually in, yes? And those were like the main aspects that we actually created at the beginning.
If I may add, Sebastian, to what Pavel was saying, you know, I'm waving to my team because my team is not able to come to the office because we never opened the office. So we are actually started to work middle of March from home, and we never came back. So we do, you know, approve some of the business critical entry to the office, but we didn't open the office. So, you know, for us was very important because, you know, the safety of our people is our priority. And at Kimberly-Clark, we have very specific rules in terms of going back to the office. And I would dare to say that our customer probably didn't feel the difference when we were performing in the office and when we started to perform from home. And I would dare to say, because we are a very young organization on the market, we have young people, 2 years on the market. So we didn't really build the experience, you know, with many years. So, but I have to say that we delivered a couple of our best results this year that they were never achieved before during the 10 years. Yeah. So I think this energy that we will make it work was actually pushing people further, right? And it's still giving a lot of energy. And initially I was part of the like a regional crisis management, leadership management group, and I was giving the update because it's one of the largest offices we have at Kimberly-Clark. And I was talking about what we do, what we don't do, and so on. And then just simply removed me because I didn't have a lot of updates to talk about that were critical. So the focus was more about how our mills are performing, you know, the situation of the closure, the borders that we couldn't ship our products and so on was very different. So I think, you know, from that perspective, we have a very supportive IT team. We were able to ship desktops to our people, purchase additional equipment for people to work from home. And I don't think, you know, customers felt the difference. And if there was a difference, it was much more positive.
Let me probably provide a different flavor because Genpact as a service provider, we are working with several Fortune 500 companies, right? So first element which we had to deal with in March is the data security. With all those sensitive data being now moved across the whatever Poland, cities, world, that was the enabler basically to continue the operation, and especially for the customers from the banking and insurance area, it's very sensitive topic and it had to be handled really on priority and well. And then the second element, because in our case it's the same like the Kimberly-Clark, we never really returned to the office since March. The important element is how the frontline managers and the leaders and the business leaders are able to get the sense and feel what is happening on the ground where there is no ground. What are the digital tools where you can monitor the results, where you can monitor the performance, where you can monitor the job that is done, the closing that is done? Because it's not about SAP reports. Right now it needs to be mobile enabled, it needs to be really handy, it needs to be really user friendly so you really understand, especially when you handle the large portfolio of the engagement. So from that perspective, creating the digital platform for each and every user within the team being able to use it, that somehow enables what also Gabriela was mentioning, that the result in the end in the last 6-7 months were even better than probably were before. And I don't know if also that's caused by the fact that there is a lockdown and there is nothing else to do, so then you spend more time of working, right? But definitely that was one of the reflection.
So I would add perhaps from the banking side, over communicating was the first point, I guess, you know, in terms of adapting, given the remoteness of everybody and the volume of questions. And we've seen even when we're speaking to all staff every 2 or 3 weeks, the volume of questions continues to be very, very high. And, to the previous point, how do you understand how engaged your staff are, what problems they're having, what challenges they're having? You may have seen some of the articles that have come out from some of the sort of senior bankers, including JP Morgan, saying, they've done some data and analytics studies, and surprise, surprise, they found that Fridays and Mondays are incredibly unproductive in the current environment. And, whilst I think we shouldn't generalize that people are taking advantage, how do we really understand what our workforce is doing when they're in that remote environment? And do we have the tools to support that analysis and metrics? I think, the part of the question as well was around customers and particularly new business. That's incredibly tough, right? When you're working in a sector which is relationship based, if you have a new business deal that's already been signed and you're onboarding it, yes, you can manage it remotely. But if you're in the negotiation phase, you're building the relationships, there are RFPs out there, you're looking at potentially new segments. How do you build those relationships, those connections, as a sales relationship manager, when typically you would agree to meet over a lunch or dinner and you would sit down, and to be frank, the capabilities, the products and the services of the firm are one element, but it's very much a relationship business. And I think that is a real challenge that, certainly our sector is still getting its head around, and how do you use the tools that are available to do it in this environment. The other big one I would say in terms of the adaptation is clearly on the real estate side, right? Where, you're looking at what opportunities has this situation presented, both now, whether that means, formal sort of short-term, medium-term closure of your offices to, take savings and improve logistics, but also accelerate more strategic type, decisions with regards to how much office space we think we are going to need in the future. And I guess, that's something we've thought long and hard about. We've ended up in 4 offices in Krakow over the years, more because of the real estate environment than by design. And we've taken the opportunity to consolidate in 2, recognizing that also staff have a much greater demand to work more of a balance between working from home and working from the office. And that's been a key area that we have adapted. And I guess, Sebastian, if you'll allow me, when I think about that, and many companies sort of thinking of similar things, I wondered, Katarzyna, perhaps from your perspective as a developer, how do you sort of think about that strategically going forward in terms of, a risk to your business, or you see opportunities out of it as well?
Very, very, very good question. Thank you, Scott, for that. Shall I take it, Sebastian, now?
Absolutely, go for it. Absolutely.
Thank you. Yes, starting already in March, of course, the key priority for us was health and safety of our people. So it was absolutely the first thing we were thinking about. And then we said, okay, we need to implement the safety measures. It's important to stay in touch with our clients, to understand their concerns, and to share our experience here in this area. We've managed to really pretty fast come back to the office in a safe way. We are working in shifts. We are cooperating with epidemiologists, architects, designers to really set up the safety measures. And we've managed to create a safe environment. We had no virus spread within our offices, and we have plenty of those across the region. So first of all, we decided, okay, let's connect with our clients and let's share those experiences. We are here the experts, so help them to do it in a safe way. That was the first thought. The other one was that, okay, what's about the future of office itself? Will we need it? It's I can tell you that before the summer, majority of the companies were saying, okay, that's the end of office era, because we are working perfectly from home. No one really needs that fancy, expensive space. What for to bother? But I can tell you that the rhetorics changed significantly after another couple of months staying at home, feeling lonely, connected from the team, and saying okay, there is some more than the space to work that the office is providing. The 3 key elements is it's the place where you create the culture, it's the place where you are building your teams, and it's the place where your team is getting all the creativity, inspirations. That's why you are going to the office. So of course, the office is there to stay, but its function will change. So it will change in the design. We will need more spaces to collaborate in a safe way. We will need more spaces to basically interact with people. We also will need more space for the individual workstations because of the social distancing measures. So the layout of the space will change. We will most probably think much more on the flexibility embodied in the offices. So you can hear more and more voices that maybe we will go more into the satellite way of organizing our offices, having smaller central hub and several smaller offices which are located closer to the place where people are living. Using for that maybe flex providers. So it gives you the flexibility to adjust the number of desks and the space that you need relatively quickly based on the needs of your business. The flexibility, I would say, is the most often discussed topic nowadays for those companies that are ready to have that discussion, because we can also see many businesses saying like, okay, right now for us, it's the moment to really set up our strategy for the future. We basically don't know. As Jakub said before, maybe we don't know the Polish person with the German, but we need some flexible space closer to the place where that perfect candidate for the position is living. So we are talking about dispersed offices that are much closer to the places where people are living, and the flexibility which is embodied into the whole concept. That's how I will say is the biggest change. And of course, the key priority when we are thinking about the offices is health and safety. That is the must at the beginning, and providing modern, sustainable space. It's like giving you that base. We are of course defining the touch-free solutions, like the safety air solutions. So indoor environment quality needs to be at the absolutely top priority. The office will not be anymore the space where you have to go. It will be the space where you want to go for many different reasons. So having this a bit hotel-alike feeling, that it's like a really nice and cozy place to be. Concierge concept most probably being much more oftenly used as a part of the service that is there, that you are going there and like basically all the stuff is being fixed for you. So.
If I can add, for me, the main hope is looking at all those concepts, all those thinking process behind, or each and every organization is thinking about it, right? And let me draw a parallel. Let's look at the education system right now. There is a COVID-19 spread, there is a lockdown, everybody starts the school at home. There is no lockdown, everybody moves back to the office. And there is no serious conversation on the hybrid model. There is no serious conversation of, I'm 15-year-old person and I'm sick or I'm traveling with my parents. Do I really need to miss the class? We are also, for example, not seeing some kind of a cross-school cooperation, because you can have some classes across the schools, right? I mean, art, math, even outside of the Poland. It's really on and off, switch off. While here, the success of us in 2021 and forward will be really defining the right hybrid model, which can consist of collaborating space. It can consist of productivity is probably better at home because you don't have to commute and travel, etc. And each and every organization will have a different needs. But what I'm really especially very happy about is seeing all those conversations, because now there are everywhere and we are really seriously looking ahead. It's not like on and off. We will hopefully never move back to the February of 2020.
I fully agree here that like the hybrid working in the office and from home, depending on the kind of the tasks that you have to do, it's absolutely what will be the future.
And what goes with that, actually, majority of companies have this kind of strategic initiatives of future way of work. We try to predict how this will look like. We reach to our advisors and we all want to be ahead of future, which is maybe impossible, but at least we will be closer to the solution, yes?
Thank you. And you know what? We have a few questions from our audience as well. So there's one sent by Wojtek Cichoń, and I will just read the question for you. Scott mentioned that the companies move more work to State Street as their employees have not been able to cope with the remote work and day-to-day work, but your people probably are facing exactly the same challenges. While working remotely, how did you cope with this?
So let me start. I think again, particularly in our sector, it has been incredibly hard hit, not just by the overall environment, but particularly earlier on in this year, the volatility in financial markets. When you see some of the day-to-day movements and stock prices of sort of 10% up or down, and you look at the impact of that to our day-to-day operations, it is absolutely significant. And I think what we try and look for in both our recruitment strategy and our onboarding and our culture is the concept of flexibility. And, as far as you can, with the workforce and the demands that this young workforce has, setting the expectations up front that there is a need for flexibility and there will be periods where we're going to have to ask you to do different things or to do different hours, but making sure we don't lose sight of the need for a good balance when you get back to a more BAU type environment, and really showing that, evidencing it, having tone from the top, making sure when you are encouraging, certain teams, individuals back into the office, that where the work is more important to perform in the office for whatever reason that may be, getting senior managers in first to show that you have a safe environment and you're setting the tone from the top. But I think, that is incredibly difficult. But at the same time, you can gain more scale and synergies from more volume, right? It allows you to also look at where you've got the opportunity to automate more, to eliminate duplication when you have more scale. And that's the sort of things we're looking at, whereby if you are a front office client, your core competency really is the job of portfolio management, risk management. And the more you can move some of the operational aspects to a provider such as State Street, we can build it into an existing scalable model. Is it easy? No. But are there opportunities? Yes.
Any other comments from the group?
Maybe I go next, Sebastian. I think, for us, because as we said before that we are producing essentials. So for us, it was a hit of huge workload in the beginning, right? Because, we see people buying these our essential products, toilet paper, for example, right? It's an essential one. And our teams, the frontliners, as Scott was saying, for customer service, for example, they had to deal with, huge volumes. And also, as it goes through the entire operations, right? So huge volumes at the beginning, huge volumes as you move ahead. So for us in the beginning was like how we will accommodate this huge workload, with other people. And, we start to think, the flexibility was very important because the first lockdown also brought locking down the family, as Jakub was talking about, right? So all of a sudden kids around. And I had people, in England, for example. I have one guy who has triplets at home and he needs to do the work. So many times he was actually calling from the car or working over the nights. Yeah, and you would having a conversation with people and you would see these little heads around you because, they were at home. So I think, that was our big challenge in the beginning, to make sure that, we are able to accommodate this huge workload with our people and, to get things under control. So we also started to, work on the automation, because that's the key, right? You just need to start thinking about what is the easy to get rid of, automate something that is possible, reports and so on, and collaborate much closer. You didn't have to wait for the reply because that was fast. So there was like a fast decision. That was the environment of fast making decisions as well, which was helping to move forward very quickly. But that was initially our problem, to be able to accommodate the huge workload and to make sure that our people feel flexibility. Yeah, so we even added additional resources to support the workload as well. Yeah, just to make sure that we manage. And at this point of time, we didn't have to move people through different operations, different activities, because is pretty stable, but this second wave, as we used to call it, it's another hit in terms of the workload for us as well.
Thank you. And I think also, I'm not sure we agree, but it's quite interesting time when you can visit so many different houses, see kids of your colleagues from the company, meet their pets, dogs, cats, maybe sometimes fish in the fish tank behind them. One of the questions I have received from my team members in my company was, what is on your bookshelf, Sebastian? Because I see the books and it was like, we had a conversation about the books. Usually it will never happen, probably. So very interesting time. This interesting time is also quite challenging at the same time. And before I will move to the next question, at the moment we have a situation when you have in the company some members who are already working for the company for a while. We onboarded them in the old world before COVID. They met team members, they met the company, they had the first meetings with their colleagues, and they maybe had some dinners, beers, and so on and so forth. In the same time, probably already recruited and onboarded many new team members to the companies, which is probably a bit different challenge, different process, but also different challenge from the perspective how we focus and how we create an environment, how we create a bond between the people in the company and the company, between the new colleagues coming and the colleagues already working for the company. And what will be your focus for the next year when it comes to the people and their engagement? I think is something which is, for me personally, very important subject, and I don't have yet a final answer.
So maybe I will take this one, Sebastian. You know that I can talk about this for hours because this is very close to my heart, people and people engagement. And we already talked about how we manage in the beginning because I was impressed. And, everybody confirmed, in our group that they were very impressed about the engagement and the work that we did. But I think, the next year, it's very much connected what you started to do this year. Because, we don't know completely what's going to happen. We need to be very flexible. So what you try to do this year and it was working well, it's probably something that you should continue doing for next year, and you should come and bring additional things because people react very differently. And also, as we stay longer time at home, some of the activities that they were happy to participate before, they don't feel like that anymore. So it's about invitation and trying different things. And what we did in the beginning, that was, I think, one of the things which was very successful. We started these weekly town halls where we invited global regional senior leads that were talking to people, engaging and giving the information because people didn't know what is going to happen. And that was a very informal conversation just to start with, just to feel connected. Because for me, sense of belonging, it's probably one of the most important ones. And Kasia was talking about that, right? And you were saying, we felt like a candy shop when we came together. So I think, we work on the operation. That was working well. We moved to continue with our objectives as well. But what we did, one of the things which, we thought in Kimberly-Clark this year, because last year we started to work on the employee value proposition because we are a very new company on the market. Yeah, young still, new kids on the block, my boss used to say. And but then, we wanted to make sure that we establish our identity on the market. So we were working on this employee value proposition that was working on employee and candidate experience. And in the beginning of the year, I said, guys, we need to change it because the world is changing. It's not about inviting people to come to the office and to see how wonderful office is. We need to think very differently. So we adapted this to a new rule, to be more connected on the media, for example, to engage with other people. But all of that was done based on the feedback from our teams. Yeah, and I think, probably that is the key, to cooperate, engage with people. When you want to do something for them, you need to make them feel that they are part of it, not it's just given and, it's a mandate and need to cooperate. And, we continue working on development programs, people agenda, and so on. And the engagement was always one of our top priorities, no matter of pandemic. And as soon as we established the Krakow Center, a part of operational objectives, we as the leadership, Krakow Center leadership team, always agreed about a couple of strategic objectives for the center. So in the beginning, it was more about making sure all policies are in place, right communication, and these type of things. And then this time when we were discussing about what is going to happen next year, we agreed about one. And this one is the sense of belonging program, which can be huge and small, depending how you decide about how you want to approach it. And this sense of belonging, we already share with our team, and we don't. We can have a structure, we can have a skeleton how we would like to do it, because program is very important to keep the discipline. Not to feel discouraged if something is not working, and just say, okay, it's not working, so I'm not going to do that anymore. It's just about replacing and continuity, and the discipline. I think it's the key for what we need to do more of, what we need to do less of, and I could come up with very attractive ideas to me. It's taken into account very different personality, but the success sits with our team. So I do not want to overdo the things, because we really need to be very sensitive to this challenging family situation, providing much more working flexibility and giving people time to rest and relax. And my team knows that it's not about progression, it's not about perfection, it's about progression, right? So progression, not perfection. So what I would suggest, what was working well, and people reply very well to what you were doing before this year: engagement, well-being sessions, charity, because it's very close to people's heart. It's important to continue. But one of the things which my leadership team feels a bit worried about is that it would be an expectation from us to drive it. And I think, we just need to switch it. We need to engage with our people to drive some of the things, instead of leadership team driving for people. We need to do it for all of us. So that's what I would say it's important in terms of sense of belonging together.
Yeah, maybe a bit building on that, because it's the first months working from home showed us that we are very productive, because those meetings are like with a very well structured agenda. We are going directly into the business. There is no this social aspect. And nowadays, when we are like asking people, what's the main reason why you would like to go to the office? It's the chit chat by the coffee, all the social interactions, which are not only business related. So, and it's like, of course, the feeling of belonging, feeling lonely, basically, somewhere there in your home. So it's important for us, while leading in a virtual way, to also organize those social moments in a virtual world. So having a coffee together, just chit-chatting about like every other stuff but business. So saying like, okay, let's connect for 20 minutes on Monday morning, have a coffee together and discuss how was the weekend. Let's have like the last Friday of the month to have a fika with all the organization and discuss like several aspects that are more fun, more relaxing. So those are very important. It's also good, for example, to have like the informal groups on WhatsApp that are not a business related topic, but just for the socializing and laughing and like connecting to each other, sharing some other stuff. And also being understanding that having kids at home, it means that the dynamic during the day is a bit different. So if 20 minutes is okay to have a lunch when you are just in the office and you are just going there to grab the ready meal, it's a bit different story when you are at home and your kids are working, studying remotely as well, and you need to prepare the meal for the whole family. So we need to take that into consideration. Empathy is super important while leading remote teams and leading in a virtual way. I think it's super crucial also to set up the clear rules, when we can have the camera on, when we can have camera off, that it's okay that kids are around when you are having your camera on. It's nothing bad. We are working from home. So having that said loudly and setting up the same rules for everybody. Because for some people, it might be very uncomfortable that they do not have the perfect environment at home, having like a isolated office to work from. So also asking about like, do you have the ergonomic conditions? So maybe you can borrow a chair from the office or like the monitor from the office, to make sure that we are also taking into consideration the well-being aspects of our employees while working from home.
If I can add one more thing, which it's another reflection, from 3 days ago, I had a meeting, informal meeting. I used to have a lot of informal meetings, as Kasia was saying, yes, close to people. And there was one feedback I received. There was one person from Spain saying, hey, Gabriela, this year we felt much more connected to the team than we felt, the year before. And she made me think, because I was thinking we were able to already create like a special engagement because we really put a lot of energy in doing that, and we care about other people, and we talk to them much more often. And it was like, because you travel so much before, we couldn't really talk to you so much, and now we talk much more and we feel much more engaged. And I was like, you see, it's not black and white, right? So even in this very difficult environment, you can create very special engagement connection with your people, right? And you just need to think about how you sustain it in the next year. So
I'll just add maybe just a few words that it leads us to a new way of virtual leadership, yes? And whoever will be there first, it will actually impact attrition, it will actually increase satisfaction of employees, and those companies will be winner on the market, yes? Because new old ways are not working anymore. We need to be somehow leaders in new reality, yes? And this reality, at least now, is fully virtual with some aspects of here and there popping to the office.
And focus mainly in expansion, because Sebastian, you mentioned old employees, vintage employees, it's something completely different than the new one. So let me add some process elements to this soft skill discussion. Onboarding needs to be super smooth, right? Laptop needs to work, HR paper needs to be done, et cetera, et cetera. The whole focus on the experience of the customer needs to be the same on the focus on experience of the new employee. And then how to replace the face-to-face conversation with more intensive interactions which are remote. Like when you enter the kitchen, you have 5 people to talk to. This is not possible in remote environment. So you probably need to schedule 5 different meetings with the same stakeholders to be able to grab the same knowledge, create the same relationship. And you really need to put some kind of an effort to substitute that. And that's going to be super crucial for the new expansion when you really need to onboard the team of 100, 500 people and start to create the culture within that group. Because otherwise you have just 500 individuals, and that's going to be then the challenge and set for failure.
Thank you very much. And one of the comments I have also received from one of my managers was that he used to work with the team he met before the change in the company, and then he got new team. And the new team was combination of the newcomers and already members from the organization. But he said, for me, because I couldn't meet with them, like going together for pizza, it is harder to build this great team environment. Maybe it's also partially part of the skills gap potentially, but it also make me think this is changing. It's very different. But I have also $1 million question to you, and because I think only 9 minutes left, if I can ask you maybe to stick to 90 seconds, but I think this one is important. And the question is what is the top skill or asset you believe we don't focus enough on while is it a future relevant? Love this question. So do you want to cover this one?
I will probably start. Not sure if I'm able to cover within 90 seconds, so apology in advance. The first one, what I think we need to look into our talents and people is ability to understand the complex framework. Look, for example, what COVID-19 did in last seven months, movement from offline to online shopping, e-shops, etc. Right? Then it's requiring completely different business support from organizations like ourselves, because technically you are stepping in if something in the upstream went wrong. If something is wrong in the design, and you need to be able to really picture it end to end and find the gap and then fix it. And at the same time, having a little bit more empathy while solving it with the customer, because it's already went through some kind of a breakage, it probably already went through some chatbot and nothing of that kind worked. So really being able to understand end to end, because we are looking at capabilities rather than capacity anymore. However, it's also the great opportunity for us, because when you look at it, such kind of environment is very easy to innovate. It's not like the old upgrade of ERP system each and every 3-4 years. Here you are talking about, if I want to switch my omni-channel to Instagram shop, I can do it within the week, right? So it's also a great opportunity. And the second element in terms of the future skills, which I don't feel that organizations are focusing enough, is being able to make decisions based on the data insights. Let me again use one example. For example, it was announced 2 weeks ago that Genpact will support the UK government in the whole COVID-19 vaccination in creating the database of machine learning portal to capture all the side effects of the vaccination. And when you look at the scale, it's up to whatever, 70 million of people in the UK, right? So being able to capture the data set right, being able to write the right conclusion, so then you avoid all those conversations of, is the face mask working or not working? Shall we do it? Shall we not do it? It really needs to be in such kind of a safety concern environment, super clear based on the data. And okay, I understand that this is probably the massive exercise, but we can look even at the most simple thing which we might be doing, which is invoice processing. The real data insights and the value is coming not from all the reports which I've seen, which is what is the turnaround time, what is the accuracy, what is the paid on time, what is the cost per document. This is useless if I put it that way, because the real insights are coming in terms of what is in the invoice. What did I order? What is the price I ordered it for? Who ordered it? What is the schedule of such kind of purchases? So really driving the right and unlocking the value from the data insights is super crucial. And I don't think that organizations in the whole hiring channel are looking at those two skills on the top of the classic education background, experience background, languages, salary expectation, location, etc. Are we really looking at the data insights as a second nature? Because we need data translators rather than transaction processors. So yeah, sorry, for sure it was not 90 seconds, but I think that those two are really super, super crucial for us in the future.
It was extended version, no worries.
I'll go next maybe. So I will keep it to 90 seconds. I think we still have a tendency to be overweighted towards technical hard skills versus soft skills at a very high level. And that means just increasing the depth of the leadership talent and the ability of managers to be strong communicators, decision makers and leaders. And that comes with time. We're still relatively immature in some places, but for me, that is still a key skill that needs to be built out and developed to really, fully be able to leverage the talent and the skill set that we have.
If I can go next, I will also be 90 seconds. So developing future leads, I think it's super important, right? Because what we learn in this situation that we're having different leadership styles, like extrovert, introvert leadership style. People behave very differently when they work from home. So I think we need to understand how we can help those leaders to continue developing themselves and growing, to become, and also future leads as well. And the second one, which I believe, we need to develop more this innovation, disruptive mindset. Yeah, so, coming back to what Jakub was saying, you need to look at your data very differently. And we need our people to start thinking like, I can be innovative, and whatever I think, it's okay to bring to the table. So encouragement to be more innovative and disruptive.
Yeah, I can follow, and I be brief because it has been already said. Empathy, ability to build inclusive environment in which people feel safe, to innovate and to think, to dare to disagree, basically, to challenge the status quo, and not employing on a technical skills, but on the flexibility and ability to learn and adapt.
I will add that on top of what was said already, because I fully agree with all of you, but we should be more resilient for change. We should develop more strategic thinking and really these soft skills that will actually help us to become better leaders in those times.
Someone also said, I think when I was interviewing someone for my podcast, she said that one of the very important skills of the future will be learning, but also unlearning. So this environment and world is changing so fast that sometimes you simply have to forget about what you have learned 7 years ago, because it might be not longer relevant. To some extent, I think it's right, especially in the technology space. But I think I also agree with you that the leadership skills in the new normal, but I hope they will go back slowly, Kasia, to mixed model. And mix, I think I can have some rough statistics from my company when we ask team members how they want to work in the future. 70% they want to still work from the office on some basis. It's not like completely remote, but on some basis. So I was surprised because I was expecting completely opposite split, but it is interesting. Okay, with the 2 minutes left, one thing. 2021 is around the corner. What would you like to see in 2021? One thing to mention.
Open bars.
Vaccine. Go on, Jakub.
I was just saying open bars. They will keep the mood up.
Yeah, a vaccine that works and is available to as many people as possible so we can get back to a level of normality and social interaction.
Yeah, vaccine back to normal and open bars and restaurants.
You know, for me, a part of vaccine bars and so on, I think, kids at school. Yeah. So, giving working mothers opportunity to be able to separate their professional and private lives.
Yes, overall immunity that is built by the vaccine and by those that are already done. So yes, coming back to some normal.
Thank you very much. I think I love your ideas. Maybe I would add 1-2 cents from my perspective, and it might be also the comment our government, more predictability in the legislation would be more than welcome. And with that, I'd like to really thank you very much for your time, for your wisdom, for the information shared with the panel. We are sorry we were not able to answer all the questions from the audience. Maybe we can have like separate session, or maybe we can cover those in our ABSL chapters. Many thanks for coming. It was a great privilege. I would like to wish you a fantastic day and a fantastic conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. It was good.
Thank you. Bye.